Welcome, gents. Have you ever caught yourself talking out loud when no one else was around and wondered if that made you strange? The truth is, it does not make you strange at all. In fact, for Sigma males, this is one of their most powerful and mysterious habits. They talk to themselves not because they are lonely or odd, but because it is their way of sharpening their mind, testing their ideas, and keeping themselves grounded in a world that never stops demanding their attention. This habit is often misunderstood by people on the outside. They assume it is pointless chatter or a sign of stress. But for a Sigma male, self-talk is like holding a private meeting with his own thoughts. Every word spoken aloud helps him clear confusion, strengthen focus, and prepare for the challenges ahead. It is not madness, it is a discipline. It is the ability to take ownership of his inner world before the outside world gets a chance to pull him apart. If you have ever felt the need to speak your thoughts out loud, do not shame yourself for it. Take it as a sign that you are processing life on a deeper level. You are giving yourself a chance to listen to your own wisdom before anyone else speaks into your life. This is not weakness, this is strength. The very act of talking to yourself could be the exact thing that keeps you one step ahead of everyone who doubts you. Let's get started, gents. Number 1. A private echo chamber of truth. Have you ever noticed how different a thought feels when you keep it in your head compared to when you say it out loud? Inside your mind, an idea can feel smooth, polished, and unquestionable. But the moment you give it a voice, it either gains strength or it crumbles under its own weakness. This is exactly why Sigma males have a habit of talking to themselves. They use their own voice as a mirror, an echo chamber that does not flatter them, but reflects the truth with brutal clarity. Imagine someone preparing for a tough decision, like leaving a job that drains their energy or ending a relationship that no longer serves them. In their head, the reasons can get jumbled. Fear and doubt creep in and start mixing with logic, but when they begin to speak it out loud to themselves, the clutter clears. They hear their own reasoning, and suddenly it becomes obvious whether their choice is based on fear or courage. That spoken truth is something no one else had to tell them because they extracted it from themselves. For Sigma males, this is not just a random habit, it is their way of cutting through illusions. Life constantly throws distractions, half-truths, and manipulations at us. Most people absorb these without questioning, but Sigma males turn inward, speaking their thoughts aloud until the unnecessary parts fall away and only truth remains. The beauty of this practice is that it is available to anyone. You do not need an audience to sort out your life. You can become your own sounding board. By giving your thoughts a voice, you turn the vague into something concrete, something you can test. And once you face that raw truth, even if it stings, it equips you with a clarity that cannot be shaken by outside noise. This is why what looks like someone simply muttering to themselves is, in reality, a ritual of strength. It is not a sign of being lost. It is a sign of someone choosing to face their truth head-on. Number 2. The art of sharpening thoughts. Most people let their thoughts run wild like an untamed river. They think, they feel, they drift, but rarely do they stop to sharpen those thoughts into something powerful and clear. This is where Sigma males stand apart. They talk to themselves as if they are sculptors, chiseling away at raw stone until it becomes something defined and strong. What seems like a simple habit is actually a discipline. Think of it this way. Imagine someone has an idea about starting a business, writing a book, or making a bold life change. In their head, it feels exciting but also fuzzy. Doubts creep in. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Left unspoken, those doubts can cloud the entire vision. But once spoken aloud, something interesting happens. The words force the mind to clarify. Instead of an endless swirl of uncertainty, the person begins to hear the exact shape of their thinking. For Sigma males, talking to themselves is like sharpening a blade. Every time they speak a thought out loud, they test it, refine it, and polish it. Weak ideas fall away. Strong ideas get stronger. They are not speaking to fill silence, but to cut through confusion. It is a process that makes their decisions harder to shake, because by the time they act, they have already tested their thoughts against the sound of their own voice. Imagine watching someone pace back and forth in their room, speaking quietly to themselves. To an outsider, it might look strange, but what you are witnessing is a private workshop of the mind. They are sanding down rough edges, questioning themselves, challenging their logic, and strengthening their conclusions. It is mental training that produces sharp clarity in a noisy world where everyone else is content to stay blunt. This practice is something anyone can use. Instead of keeping your thoughts locked inside where they can deceive you, try speaking them aloud. You will notice how quickly the weak points reveal themselves. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but comfort has never produced growth. By sharpening your thoughts out loud, you create clarity, confidence, and focus that others will struggle to understand. For Sigma males, this sharpening is second nature. It is why their actions often feel precise and deliberate. Their words are not rushed. Their choices are not reckless. Behind all of it lies countless private conversations where every thought was tested until only the strongest remained. Number 3, rehearsing battles no one else sees. Life is full of battles, but most people only prepare for the ones they can see coming. They get ready for job interviews, for exams, or for conversations with people they already expect to be difficult. Sigma males, however, prepare on a different level. When they talk to themselves, they are not just reviewing obvious scenarios, they are rehearsing conflicts, choices, and challenges that may never even happen. It might look strange, but in truth it is how they train themselves to stay 10 steps ahead. Picture someone standing in front of a mirror, quietly speaking through a difficult confrontation that has not yet taken place. Maybe they are practicing how they would respond if a friend betrays their trust, or how they would handle a coworker who tries to take credit for their work. To an outsider, it looks unnecessary. But to the Sigma male, it is preparation. When the real test comes, he will not stumble or panic. He has already fought this battle in the private arena of his own mind. This habit is not about paranoia. It is about discipline. Sigma males know that life rarely gives warnings before throwing a challenge in your path. By rehearsing possibilities in advance, they train themselves to respond with clarity instead of emotion. They have already spoken through the words they might need. They have already measured the tone, the reaction, the outcome. Think of it like an athlete who trains harder than the competition, practicing plays he may never use. On game day, the effort pays off because he is ready for anything. Sigma males do the same thing, except their training ground is their own voice. They use self-talk as mental sparring. This practice makes them appear calm when storms arrive. While others freeze under pressure, Sigmas already know what to say, how to act, and how to hold their ground. Their responses look natural, but they are the result of countless unseen rehearsals. The lesson here is simple. Do not wait for life to corner you before you prepare. Talk yourself through possibilities, even the ones that feel unlikely. You may never face some of those battles, but if you do, you will be ready. That readiness is what gives Sigma males their quiet edge in a world full of unprepared minds. Number 4, creating order from mental storms. The mind can feel like a crowded marketplace. Thoughts rush in from every direction. Worries about money, responsibilities at work, memories from the past, and fears about the future all compete for attention. For most people, this noise never settles. They carry the storm inside them and wonder why they feel drained. But Sigma males have a unique way of calming the chaos. They speak to themselves as if they are gathering loose papers blown by the wind and placing them in neat stacks. Picture someone sitting at their desk after a long day. Their head is buzzing with unfinished tasks, random conversations, and lingering emotions. Instead of trying to silence it all, they begin talking through each thought. This needs to be done tomorrow. That person's opinion doesn't matter. I felt upset because of this, but it no longer deserves my energy. Slowly, the storm begins to break apart. By giving voice to their thoughts, they are not drowning in them anymore. They are sorting them like a librarian placing books back on the right shelf. For Sigma males, this is more than a habit. It is survival. The world constantly demands their attention, but instead of letting that noise turn into mental clutter, they create order through words. Each spoken sentence is a form of self-command, pulling them away from confusion and into clarity. This is why they are rarely swept away by panic. They train themselves to separate what is urgent from what is meaningless. Think about how refreshing it feels to finally clean a messy room. At first it looks overwhelming, but once you start, piece by piece, the space becomes clear. Talking to themselves works the same way for Sigmas. They are cleaning the mess in their minds, not by suppressing it, but by facing it directly and giving it structure. This practice is something anyone can learn. Instead of letting your thoughts overwhelm you, speak them out loud. You might find that your worries sound smaller once you hear them. You might discover that what felt huge was only noise. By creating order in the storm, you give yourself the gift of mental peace. For Sigma males, this habit ensures that no matter how wild life gets, they always find a way back to clarity. They do not silence the storm, they organize it. And number 5, silent conversations with the future. Have you ever spoken to yourself about what tomorrow might look like? Maybe you've said, tomorrow I'll wake up early and get this done, or next week I'll finally deal with this problem. That small act is not just daydreaming, it is your way of shaping the future with words. For Sigma males, this is not a casual habit, it is a ritual. Every time they talk to themselves, they are rehearsing a version of their future, laying out a path before it happens. To an outsider, it might look strange when a Sigma is pacing the room, muttering plans under his breath. But in reality, he is speaking to the version of himself he has not yet met. It is like holding a private meeting with tomorrow. By putting words to his goals, he makes them real, almost as if he is pulling the future closer, one sentence at a time. Think of an athlete who visualizes the game before stepping onto the field. He runs the plays in his mind, he hears the calls, he sees the scoreboard. By the time the real game begins, he has already lived it dozens of times in his head. Sigma males do something similar, except they do it out loud. They talk themselves through the possibilities, the risks, and the outcomes, so when the moment arrives, they are not caught off guard. This habit also keeps them steady when life throws surprises. Because they have already spoken through different scenarios with themselves, they carry a sense of readiness. They are not shocked into silence by the unexpected. Instead, they respond with calm precision, as though they have rehearsed it all before. Imagine the power of telling yourself out loud, I will overcome this challenge, or I will not let this situation control me. Those words stick. They echo. They plant themselves in your mind and shape how you act when the test finally comes. For Sigma males, these silent conversations with the future are like blueprints. They are not just hoping for things to work out. They are preparing themselves to meet life head-on. And when the future finally arrives, it feels less like an unknown enemy and more like an old acquaintance they have been speaking to all along. Number 6, the practice of unfiltered honesty. Most people lie to themselves without even realizing it. They downplay their mistakes, they exaggerate their strengths, or they convince themselves that everything is fine when it clearly is not. It is a way of protecting the ego, but in reality it creates a shaky foundation. Sigma males do the opposite. When they talk to themselves, they strip away every excuse and every comfortable lie. They give themselves the raw truth, even if it hurts. Imagine someone who just failed at a big project. Many people would say, it wasn't my fault, or the timing just wasn't right. They use these phrases to soften the blow. But a Sigma male would sit with himself and say out loud, I did not prepare enough, or I underestimated the challenge. That honesty stings, but it also teaches. By hearing his own voice deliver the truth, he is forced to face it instead of burying it. This is not about being cruel to oneself. It is about respecting oneself enough to confront reality. A Sigma knows that lies may provide comfort for a moment, but they leave you blind for the future. Truth, no matter how uncomfortable, clears the path forward. Talking to himself becomes a form of self-accountability, a contract he cannot escape because the words have already been spoken. Think about how liberating it feels when you finally admit something to yourself. It might be, I'm not happy in this situation, or I can do better than what I am settling for. At first it feels heavy, but once the truth is out, it creates space for change. Sigma males practice this often, using their own voice as both judge and guide. By being brutally honest with themselves, they avoid the trap of self-deception that so many people live in. They do not waste years convincing themselves of illusions. Instead, they face the pain early, learn from it, and move forward with strength. This practice of unfiltered honesty may look unusual, but it is one of the reasons Sigma males rarely collapse under the weight of lies. Their self-talk keeps them grounded in reality. And in a world full of masks and false appearances, that honesty becomes their greatest power. Number 7, guarding against manipulation. One of the biggest reasons Sigma males talk to themselves is to protect their own mind from being rewritten by others. The world is full of voices trying to shape how you think, what you believe, and how you should live. Family, friends, society, media, everyone has an opinion about what you should do. If you're not careful, those voices can drown out your own. Sigma males fight this by making their own voice the loudest in their life. Imagine being pressured into a decision like choosing a career path you do not want or staying in a relationship that is slowly draining you. Many people would go along with the pressure, convincing themselves that it is the safer option. But a Sigma male takes a different approach. He withdraws, talks it out with himself, and strips away every voice that does not belong to him. He asks himself out loud, what do I really want? What makes sense for me? Those questions, spoken in his own voice, act as a shield against manipulation. Talking to himself creates an internal checkpoint. Before he lets anyone else's opinion settle in his mind, he tests it out loud. If it feels hollow, it gets rejected. If it stands firm when spoken, he keeps it. This simple habit ensures that no one else sneaks in and plants ideas that do not serve him. Think about how easy it is to get swayed when someone speaks with confidence. A friend says, trust me, this is the best way to do it. A boss insists, this is what success looks like. Many people nod along, but Sigmas go back to their private dialogue. They compare those external voices against their own. That self-talk becomes a filter, catching manipulations before they can take root. The power of this habit is that it makes them immune to control. Even if someone lies to them or tries to deceive them, their private conversations have already trained them to question, to test, and to seek the truth. In a world where so many people follow without questioning, Sigma males remain untouchable because their own voice is always louder than the crowd. Number 8, solitary mentorship. Most people rely on mentors, friends, or family to guide them when life gets heavy. They look for someone wiser to lean on, someone who can help them make sense of what feels overwhelming. But Sigma males have a different approach. They become their own mentor through the habit of talking to themselves. Their self-talk is not random chatter, it is guidance, advice, and encouragement spoken in their own voice. Picture this. A man is facing a hard choice. Stay in a stable job that drains his spirit or take the risk of starting something new. Instead of rushing to ask a dozen people what he should do, he steps aside and talks himself through it. He lays out the pros and cons aloud. He questions his own fears. He reminds himself of what truly matters. In that moment, he is both student and teacher. His voice is the mentor he trusts most because it does not come with hidden agendas or personal bias. This habit is powerful because it creates independence. When Sigma males guide themselves, they do not become paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. They know their decisions are born from their own reasoning, not borrowed opinions. That sense of ownership makes them stronger, even if the path they choose is difficult. Think about how often people ignore their gut because someone else told them otherwise. They end up regretting it, saying, I knew I should have trusted myself. Sigma males avoid that trap. Their self-talk strengthens their ability to trust their own guidance. It is like having a personal coach on standby at all times, ready to remind them of their strength and direction. This solitary mentorship also protects them from emotional manipulation. If someone tries to guilt, trip them, or push them into choices that serve others more than themselves, their private dialogue acts as a safeguard. They can return to their own voice, hear their own reasoning, and cut through the pressure with clarity. In a world where many people feel lost without external validation, Sigma males show that your strongest mentor can actually be yourself. By talking to themselves, they give their inner wisdom a voice, and that voice often turns out to be the most reliable guide they will ever have. Number 9, solitary mentorship. Most people rely on mentors, friends, or family to guide them when life gets heavy. They look for someone wiser to lean on, someone who can help them make sense of what feels overwhelming. But Sigma males have a different approach. They become their own mentor through the habit of talking to themselves. Their self-talk is not random chatter. It is guidance, advice, and encouragement spoken in their own voice. Picture this. A man is facing a hard choice. Stay in a stable job that drains his spirit, or take the risk of starting something new. Instead of rushing to ask a dozen people what he should do, he steps aside and talks himself through it. He lays out the pros and cons aloud. He questions his own fears. He reminds himself of what truly matters. In that moment, he is both student and teacher. his voice is the mentor he trusts most, because it does not come with hidden agendas or personal bias. This habit is powerful because it creates independence. When Sigma males guide themselves, they do not become paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. They know their decisions are born from their own reasoning, not borrowed opinions. That sense of ownership makes them stronger, even if the path they choose is difficult. Think about how often people ignore their gut because someone else told them otherwise. They end up regretting it, saying, "I knew I should have trusted myself." Sigma males avoid that trap. Their self-talk strengthens their ability to trust their own guidance. It is like having a personal coach on standby at all times, ready to remind them of their strength and direction. This solitary mentorship also protects them from emotional manipulation. If someone tries to guilt-trip them or push them into choices that serve others more than themselves, their private dialogue acts as a safeguard. They can return to their own voice, hear their own reasoning, and cut through the pressure with clarity. In a world where many people feel lost without external validation, Sigma males show that your strongest mentor can actually be yourself. By talking to themselves, they give their inner wisdom a voice, and that voice often turns out to be the most reliable guide they will ever have. Number 10, transforming pain into dialogue. Everyone experiences pain, but not everyone knows what to do with it. Some people bury it, hoping it will disappear, while others let it consume them until it shapes every part of their life. Sigma males take another route. When they feel pain, they talk to themselves. They give their pain a voice, not to complain, but to turn it into something they can understand and eventually master. Imagine someone going through heartbreak. Most people either drown in silence or numb themselves with distractions. A Sigma male, however, might sit in his room and speak it out loud. "I am hurting because I gave too much. I am angry because I expected more." By naming his pain and hearing it in his own voice, he takes the first step toward transforming it. The pain is no longer a silent storm raging inside him. It becomes a dialogue he can analyze, a puzzle he can start solving. This process is powerful because unspoken pain tends to grow in the dark. It twists into bitterness or resentment if left unaddressed. But when Sigma males talk through it, they shine light on it. Speaking aloud turns raw emotion into language, and once it has language, it can be studied, broken down, and healed. Think about how different it feels to silently replay an upsetting memory compared to saying it out loud. Silence keeps you trapped in loops of feeling. Words create distance. They allow you to step back and ask, what can I learn from this? How can I move forward? Sigma males use this method to turn emotional wounds into lessons. By talking to themselves, they do not allow pain to dictate their actions. Instead, they process it fully until it loses its power over them. This is why they often appear composed even after difficult experiences. It is not that they never suffer, it is that they transform suffering into clarity through dialogue. Anyone can try this. The next time pain weighs on you, speak it out loud. It will feel heavy at first, maybe even uncomfortable, but with each word, the emotion becomes something you can work with instead of something that controls you. For Sigma males, this habit ensures that pain does not become a prison. Instead, it becomes a teacher, and their own voice becomes the tool that turns wounds into wisdom. Number 11, his therapy without an audience. Many people turn to others when their minds feel heavy. They call a friend, book a therapy session, or pour their heart out on social media. There is nothing wrong with that, but Sigma males often take a different route. For them, talking to themselves is therapy. They do not need an audience to process their struggles. Their own voice becomes both the question and the answer. Picture a man weighed down by a hard week. Instead of reaching for the phone to vent, he speaks to himself while walking home. That bothered me because I felt disrespected. I reacted that way because I was already frustrated. Each sentence unravels the tension. By the time he gets home, he is lighter, clearer, and calmer, all without involving another person. His voice carried the burden out of his mind, piece by piece. This works because saying things aloud forces honesty. In your head, you can dodge the truth or circle around it endlessly, but when you say it out loud, you confront it directly. A Sigma male uses this private dialogue the same way others use therapy. It is a safe space to admit fears, uncover blind spots, and release emotions. The difference is, he trusts himself enough to do it without an external guide. Think about how freeing it feels when you finally express something you've been holding inside. Even if nobody else hears it, just voicing it brings relief. That is exactly what Sigma males tap into. Their self-talk is not idle chatter, it is a form of healing. This habit also strengthens independence. When you can untangle your own emotions without leaning on constant outside support, you become harder to break. Sigma males are not afraid to seek help when truly needed, but their default setting is self-reliance. They train themselves to process life internally first, rather than depending on others to carry their weight. Anyone can practice this. The next time your mind feels crowded, try talking it out aloud in private. You may be surprised how quickly your thoughts organize themselves once they are spoken. For Sigma males, this habit ensures they never feel trapped waiting for someone else to listen. Their therapy is always available, always honest, and always in their own control. Number 12, preserving independence. One of the reasons Sigma males talk to themselves so often is because it keeps them self-contained. In a world where many people constantly need validation, approval, or a listening ear just to feel steady, they maintain independence by relying on their own voice. Their self-talk reminds them that they are enough. They do not need a panel of opinions to move forward. Imagine someone who has to make a life-changing choice, like moving to a new city or investing in a risky idea. Most people would immediately reach out to friends or family for advice, sometimes getting 10 different answers that only add more confusion. A Sigma male, on the other hand, withdraws into his own private conversation. He speaks his doubts, his options, and his reasoning out loud until clarity emerges. His decision comes from within, not from a collection of borrowed voices. This independence is not about arrogance, it is about strength. By talking to themselves, Sigma males protect their ability to stand on their own 2 feet, even when circumstances are uncertain. They use self-talk as an anchor, a way to confirm that their thoughts, choices, and instincts are valid without waiting for someone else's stamp of approval. Think of how easy it is for people to second-guess themselves when others disagree. They feel confident one moment, then crumble the next because someone else raised a doubt. Sigma males avoid this trap. Their private dialogue is like a stabilizer. By the time they step into the world, they have already weighed the risks and accepted their decision fully. This is why they often seem unmoved when challenged. Their independence was forged in those quiet moments of self-talk where they built confidence from the inside out. And because of this, they are harder to sway, harder to manipulate, and far more consistent in their actions. You can practice the same. Instead of rushing to ask 10 people what you should do, try working it out with yourself aloud. Ask the hard questions, test your reasoning, and listen to your own answers. You may find that you already carry the wisdom you were seeking. For Sigma males, this practice ensures they never lose themselves in the noise of the world. Talking to themselves is how they preserve their independence, and that independence is what makes them unshakable. Number 13, sharpening emotional control. Sigma males are not immune to emotions. They feel frustration, doubt, anger, and sadness like everyone else. The difference is that they have developed a habit that keeps them from being controlled by those emotions. Talking to themselves is one of their most effective tools for emotional balance. Picture someone in the middle of a heated argument. Most people lash out, say things they later regret, or let anger take over their judgment. A Sigma male, however, is more likely to pull back into his private dialogue, even if silently at first. He talks through the storm within himself, reminding his mind of logic when his heart wants to react blindly. This does not mean he suppresses his feelings. Instead, he acknowledges them and then guides them into a calmer, more useful direction. Self-talk becomes a release valve. It prevents the build-up of explosive emotions by letting them out in a controlled way. Rather than shouting at someone else, he may process his frustration alone, speaking the raw truth to himself before deciding the best way to handle the situation. By the time he responds outwardly, he is measured, clear, and in control. This ability is not just useful in conflict, it also plays a role in self-discipline. For example, when facing temptation or procrastination, a Sigma male might talk to himself like a coach pushing an athlete. He gives himself reminders, pep talks, and even stern instructions to stay on track. Instead of relying on someone else to push him forward, he becomes his own motivator. You can see why this habit is misunderstood. To an outsider, it may look like mumbling, but for a Sigma male, it is a strategic practice. Each word spoken aloud helps transform raw emotion into strength, clarity, and direction. This is what makes Sigma males appear unshaken in moments when others would crumble. They do not let emotions dictate their choices because they have already filtered those emotions through their own dialogue. They master themselves before the world has a chance to test them. Think about it. How often do people lose opportunities, damage relationships, or regret actions because they acted out of uncontrolled emotions? Sigma males avoid that trap by turning self-talk into a shield. And that shield keeps their decisions steady, their relationships healthier, and their minds far more resilient. In final words, most people spend their lives running from their thoughts, drowning them in noise, or waiting for someone else to tell them what to believe. But Sigma males are different. They dare to sit with their minds, speak their truths out loud, and wrestle with their own questions until clarity comes. What looks strange to the outside world is actually their secret weapon. Every word they whisper to themselves is a step toward sharper thinking, deeper self-control, and unshakable confidence. It is easy to laugh at someone talking to themselves, but the joke is always on the one who never learned how to face their own reflection. Because while the world is busy looking for distractions, the Sigma male is refining his mind like a blade, one conversation with himself at a time. That is why he cannot be fooled, why he cannot be bent, and why he continues to move forward when others get stuck. So the next time you find yourself speaking out loud in an empty room, do not rush to silence it. Do not think it makes you weak or odd. Take it as a sign that you are taking charge of your inner world the way a Sigma male does. Remember, greatness is not built in crowds. It is built in quiet moments of self-discipline, when you choose honesty over denial, clarity over confusion, and growth over comfort. Never underestimate the power of your own voice. It might just be the very thing that sets you apart. Thank you for watching, Gents, and God bless you.